Jack, do you believe that the universe? Oh, I'm jumping in, but I just want to know with you, Jack. Do you believe that something can begin to exist without a cause? That's possible.
Yeah.
Okay. So, do you believe it would be a brute fact if we asked the question of why is it that some things begin to exist without a cause and some things with a cause?
It would be a brute fact. What?
There would be no explanation to the fact of why some things begin with a cause and some things without a cause.
Is it? The question is why is in fact lack of cause? Is that itself a brute? The answer to that question is it's just a brute fact.
Yeah, you think so?
Not necessarily.
Okay, how is that any different from somebody telling you that they saw Jesus, and when you ask them, "Oh, how do you know that?" they say, "Oh, you're not supposed to ask that question." How is that any different? I'm serious. I'm not joking. Like, how is that? How is you saying you're not supposed to ask what caused the universe any different than them saying you're not supposed to ask how God can fit inside your mind? What?
What's the similarity?
But you're an obscurantist. I mean, I'm not saying you, but if you hold to that.
How so?
But because you're just trying to say that, okay, in these realms, philosophy and rational thought need not apply.
Well, in the case, say, of libertarian free act.
Wait. You're not shifting the burden of proof on me. We're not talking about libertarian free will. We're talking about...
Yeah, but you don't have a problem in those cases, right? With there not being an explanation. So that just means you don't have any principle.
Stop. Okay, that's not what I'm asking. Libertarian free will isn't something beginning to exist without a cause. That's not what it is.
No, but the point is, your concern is that there are facts that don't have explanations, right?
No, I'm not making a case against brute facts. I'm not making a case against brute facts, though. I'm not making a case against brute facts.
What's the case you're making against them?
That something can begin to exist without a cause. I'm not saying that brute facts...
I don't understand what the objection is.
The objection is when you say that something began to exist, and I say, okay, yes, bro, I'm going to ask you, what is it that caused it? And you're going to say that's the wrong question to ask. How is that any different from obscurantist?
What is that? What is it that caused what?
What do you mean? Let's say the universe, if it began to exist. And you're going to say nothing caused it. It had no efficient cause.
Well, if the universe began to exist, it couldn't have a cause if space-time... it couldn't have a cause if there was no time prior to the beginning of the universe.
No, what do you mean by prior? Sans the beginning of the universe.
Prior meaning temporally prior.
No, not prior, sans. See, this is why...
I don't know what you mean.
Without. So it means without. Without, you had no...
I mean, I know what the word means, but I don't understand how it makes any sense to use it in this context.
Wait, you accept that things can exist sans time?
Yeah, there could be atemporal.
Okay, good. So now then you understand what it means for something to be...
Like abstract objects could be atemporal.
This is just the same kind of thing, right? What we get is a bunch of irrationality, okay? The whole idea of science and philosophy is to inquire. When it comes to the biggest question, you're saying you shouldn't inquire. I mean, that's obscurantism.
I didn't say that exactly.
Okay. Do you believe that the universe, if it began to exist, had an efficient cause?
I don't take a view on that.
But you just said that if the universe began to exist, then it couldn't have had a cause.
What I said is that if there was no time prior to the beginning of the universe, right, it couldn't have a cause.
Time is included in the universe.
In that case, it can't have a cause.
Okay, good. So now, when we are applying the big question to the biggest question, Why is it that we're supposed to just throw up and say there is nothing rational to see here? How is that not obscurantism?
Who is Tofi?
Jack, how can you make sense of anything without beginning to exist without a cause? What puts it in motion?
Well, if space-time...
Okay, I don't want if space-time. Okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. Okay, I'm going to ask you a question. Can something begin to exist without a cause?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now, how can you make sense of a concept of something being put in motion by nothing? What does that mean?
What's the contradiction?
Okay, it can't be the thing itself that puts itself in motion. So what is it that's doing the motioning? What is responsible for the process? If nothing is responsible for the process, why is something occurring rather than nothing?
But to ask why about a brief fact.
Okay, but that's just another way of being an obscurantist. Hey, Venus.
Yeah, I was gonna.
You believe in brief facts.
Yeah, it's hard.
But listen to me. First of all, I do not believe in brute facts, but I do think that brute facts can be made sense of. I don't.
You believe in libertarian free will, so you believe in brute facts.
No, I don't believe in brute facts.
Well, then you're a determinist.
Well, it's a false dichotomy. Okay, that's a false dichotomy. I'm not a determinist. I'm not. But I told you I don't believe in the principle of alternate possibility.
Well, then how is it that you're a libertarian?
What does that have to do with the questions I was asking?
Because I don't understand why you're objecting to brute facts.
But I'm not objecting to brute facts. I'm objecting to the idea that something can come from nothing.
Yeah, didn't I have this conversation with you yesterday?
Yeah, I spoke to Venus, so now I'm going after the granddad.
What did you say, Venus?
Well, there's something interesting because what he's saying is he doesn't understand what it means for something.
Yeah, what's a coherent thing?
He doesn't. No, but there's like an interesting consequence out of this because he says he understands what it means for something to have an efficient cause, but he doesn't understand what it means for something not to have an efficient cause. And
No. I don't understand what it means for something that begins to exist and not have an efficient cause.
Yeah. Okay. So you understand what it means for something that begins to exist for it to have an efficient cause, but you don't understand. But you don't understand what it means for something to begin to exist without an efficient cause.
Jack, stop.
Wait,
There is no coherent. There is no.
I want to hear what Venus. I want to hear
I
what
just
Venus
said
said. Go ahead.
what I'm saying, Jack, is how is it that he can make sense of the former and not the latter unless he's built into the notion of begin to exist that it has an efficient cause?
Right.
Wait. But Jack, can you give a coherent account of something that begins to exist and has no cause? What's a coherent account of it?
I'm not sure what you mean by coherent account.
Something that makes it intelligible. No. That's just obscurantism. That's just saying don't ask questions. Now, I'm going to ask the question again. Okay. Now.
Like if I say why did Agent A do X rather than Y?
Okay, we're not talking about free will. We're talking about whatever begins to exist.
What's the answer? What's the answer so that
we're not going
we want to say?
I'm not going there. We're not going to do this thing where we talk about 10 things at a time. Okay, you want to have the free will discussion? That's fine. But I want to hear what's a coherent.
I'm trying to understand what the asymmetry is between the two cases.
Okay, I'm not interested in talking about free will right now. I'm interested in talking about this. Okay, now.
Yeah, but I'm trying to understand what the.
Okay, but can I ask a question? Okay, look, I'm going to ask if you ask me to give a coherent account of what free will is. I could do it. Now, I'm not asking you.
No, I didn't ask you that.
Okay, good. Then okay. Stop. I'm asking you. Okay, listen, dude. Okay, right now, I'm gonna ask you again. Can you give an account of what it even means for something to begin to exist without a cause? What does it mean?
I don't understand what's difficult to
understand. Okay, here is the problem. Okay, that which begins to exist is causally inert. So we're not talking about something causing itself. Okay, good.
I mean, it just seems like that's going to fall afoul of the objection that Venus just rendered, right? Which is that it doesn't seem like there should be any problem of meaning unless you've made it a tautology. For something to begin to exist and have a cause, right?
I'm not saying it's an analytic claim. I'm asking you to explain to me.
If it's an analytic claim, why is it obscure?
What is it that I don't understand what you're saying? How am I supposed to make sense of something I don't understand?
Yeah, but you see, for you not to understand what I'm saying, right, implies that the issue is one that it would be an analytic claim, right? Because you're just saying I don't understand what a contradiction is.
Well, first of all, I do think there could be a contradiction, but I wasn't even making that claim right now. I was making the claim.
But then I just not understanding why there's a problem of meaning, right?
Okay. What is it?
If it's the case that beginning to exist and having a cause is not a tautology, right? Then beginning to exist and not having a cause shouldn't in any way raise a problem of meaning.
No, but it's just another way of saying, okay, what's the point?
More or less what I think
what's the point? All right, what's the point of philosophy?
Right.
Okay, I don't understand. No, I'm not understanding. This just seems like more obscurantism. It's like when it's the same thing I hear.
I think what the obscurantism is is you answering Venus's question. That's where the obscurantism comes in. You're just
I
not
talked with
answering
Venus
the
yesterday,
question.
and he wasn't able to give a coherent account of what it even means for something to begin without a cause.
Yeah, but he raised an objection to you not being able to understand what it means.
But I said there is no intelligible account of it. I'm not saying it's a contradiction. I'm saying there is no intelligible account.
What does that mean?
You're telling me something for which I have no conception of, I have no concept of it, and there is no
I
coherent.
don't understand what it would mean to give an account of it. What does that mean? Like, you understand what something beginning to exist having a cause is, right?
Okay.
So if you just say something beginning to exist without having a cause, what does it mean to give an account of that that isn't already contained in the former?
Okay. How is that different from the concept of ex nihilo nihil fit? Sorry, how is that different from you saying that something comes from nothing?
I've explained that many times.
Okay, so now we have a problem here. Okay, we have a problem here.
What's the problem?
The problem is that we have some kind of obscurantism going on, because what we're saying is we're going to create all this sophistication to try to avoid asking the question. So we create all this stuff about you can't ask this question about the most important thing. So I don't understand. Does that mean anytime someone is doing an autopsy, one of the keys is that whatever began the process of death could have come without a cause? Should that be on the table as an explanation? As a possible explanation?
Don't know what you're getting at there.
So let's say someone died of cardiac arrest, and the question is, what caused the cardiac arrest to begin? Should one of the possible explanations be that nothing caused it? It just began to exist?
One of the logically possible?
Okay. Do you believe that that's metaphysically possible? I'm not asking about logical
What does
possibility.
it mean?
You wish.
Okay, so we're not going to
I'm
go.
gonna get killed.
Right, Detroit. Now, these people are just trolling me. You go ahead, Detroit. What's your account? How can something be put into motion if there is nothing to put it in motion? What does it mean for it to start being in motion when there's nothing that caused it?
I understand. You think something couldn't exist that like moves around with it? Something that previously existed moving it?
Okay,
By moving there, I don't necessarily mean motion in the usual sense.
okay, but that's not. Well, first of all, yeah, I do think so, but that's the argument from change. I'm not making that argument. I'm making the argument of how is it that something can begin to exist and nothing cause it to exist?
I don't know. Why not? Presumably, if there's a first moment or first event, then that's the sort of thing.
Okay, why is there first event rather than no event at all?
I don't know what to tell you. Why is there any events at all rather than no events at all?
So that's just obscurantism. Okay, we're getting to another dishonest. Okay,
Prevarication.
like these people are just. I'm convinced that you people are just making this up to try and keep atheism coherent. Like, there's no way anybody like would come up with this for like no motive.
Seems right to me.
Jack, do you believe that the universe came from nothing? Wait, Jack, do you know what else I discovered? You are skeptical of determinism.
What?
Wait, I discovered something else. Do you know you're skeptical of determinism?
There's something rich about Canadians saying you guys are doing all this to keep atheism coherent when he's adopted like divine simplicity, libertarian free will.
Wait, Jack, do you know what else I discovered?
How can
you think-
anybody who believes in divine simplicity claim that anybody?
Jack, do you believe
Good question.
that determinism is questionable?
Is questionable? Why not?
Wait, you think so?
Why wouldn't it be questionable?
But what I mean is, do you think that there is problems with somebody who holds to a deterministic worldview?
I don't see what the problem would be.
Is Mars Bars the Troyer?
No, Detroit was here. I don't know where he went.
Oh, Andricus was the Troyer. Okay.
Detroit, come back, bro. Oh, I guess it's too late. Jack, do you know that I discovered that somebody who holds the B theory of time is committed to determinism?
Somebody holds to B theory, they're committed to determinism.
Yeah,
Is that what you said?
yeah. Isn't that crazy?
I don't know if that's true or not.
Wait, that's not true? How is that not true? You believe that the future already exists.
I don't really know. I don't really understand disputes in the philosophy of time. So I'm not really sure I understand what it even means to be a B theorist. So I don't really understand why it would commit you to determinism.
Do you understand what presentism is?
No,
You don't know what it means for only the present to exist?
no.
But what do you mean? Only the present exists.
I don't understand what that means.
But what do you mean? You experience the present moment and the past doesn't exist.
No party to the debate denies that the present moment is experienced, right?
Yeah, but some are going to say that the past moment also exists. Or we're saying, okay, the past doesn't exist.
I don't really understand what's being asserted there.
What do you mean?
In virtue of what does the past not exist?
It's gone.
Like in what context?
I don't get it. Chuck, what's your view on time?
I take a Kantian view, I guess.
What do you think about the J. Dyer's paradigm type approach to worldviews?
The what?
Do you
Paradigm.
think time is just a mental category?
Well, I just think that time is going to be some necessary condition for experience. So it's got to be built into our cognitive faculty. And on a dual aspect view, right, some temporal fact is going to have an experiential mode of appearance, right? And it's going to have this other aspect, which is its existence as considered independently of subjects.
What do you make? How do you make sense of the notion of time within physics?
Well, I don't have a view on it.
Ah, okay. But you think that's reconcilable with the Kantian view? You don't think you wouldn't be like contesting any,
I don't think so.
because like time dilation and all these experiments that are carried out to show that clocks are like slower given these and these conditions when they're met. There's like nothing you deny there, right?
No.
Ah, okay.
So, do you believe in the inference to best explanation?
Yeah.
How can you make sense of that if you concede that things can begin to exist without a cause?
What?
How can you hold to that view how do you square that with things beginning to exist without a cause?
What's the incompatibility?
Well, how can you assign probability to something that begins to exist without a cause? How can you say how probable that event is?
I'm not sure that I have a view on how probable it is.
Yeah, but how can you make an inference to best explanation? Like, if, for example, you have a view, okay, cardiac arrest happened because of this rhythm began to exist. And there are several explanations. One is scarring of the myocardium. And one other explanation is that it began to exist without a cause. How do you eliminate it began to exist without a cause to infer to the best explanation?
How do I eliminate that?
Yeah.
I might eliminate it on pragmatic ground.
But I don't understand how can you say what the probability of it is? I don't understand that. You can't know what the probability of something coming from nothing is, or something beginning to exist without an efficient cause is.
Wait, something, I didn't say that something could come from nothing.
Right, but you believe that things can begin to exist without an efficient cause.
Yeah,
Okay. So now I'm going to ask you, how can you know what the probability of that is?
I don't know that I ever made a claim that
Okay,
I
good.
could
And
know.
how can you make an inference to best explanation without knowing one of the probabilities? How can you do this kind of inference to the best explanation?
If it's a brute fact, it's not going to have an explanation, right? So there's not going to be any inference to an explanation.
No, I don't. Okay, look, this works just as well with brute facts. So I'm going to use an example. If you're going to have an explanation for something, and there is a couple of possible explanations, none of them entailing, and another is that it was just a brute fact, how do you decide which one of them is the best?
How are they explanations if they're not entailing?
What do you mean?
Well, if A explains B, then A entails B.
No. You could, for example, have somebody go into cardiac arrest. You see that, for example, they had this rare condition that 60% of the time causes people to go into cardiac arrest. Now, that's compatible with the cardiac arrest having been a brute fact, but it's also possible that this was an explanation. Now, I'm asking you, how do you adjudicate which one of these is the more likely to make the inference to the best explanation? Because you have no probability with which you can make an inference to say, okay, this is more probable than the other.
Well, under my view, and if A explains B, then it's either the case that A and B, it's either the case that A entails B, that's going to be an ideal explanation, or at the very least, A and B is going to be a cogent inductive inference. But if it's neither of those, then it's not an explanation.
But I don't understand how you can make a cogent inductive inference when you haven't considered a brute fact on the table.
That just means that if the premise is true, then it's highly likely that the conclusion is true.
But how can you assign probability to brute facts?
Yeah, but you're not assigning probability to brute facts.
Exactly. So you have two possibilities. It's likely that given this scarring, cardiac arrest was caused by this. The other possibility is that while the scarring was present, that didn't cause the cardiac arrest. What caused it was
But
a
if
brute fact.
but
Now, I'm
if
asking
there
you,
are,
how do you decide?
well, if there are multiple explanations for some explanandum, and one of those explanations fares better than the other explanations, has novel predictions, that's going to give me reason to think that this isn't something that is a brute fact, because this thing here seems to be an explanation. It meets all the criterions to be an explanation. That's going to give me a reason to think that this isn't a brute fact.
Well, that's just another way of doing the inference to the best explanation.
No, all I'm saying is, if you have something that's a potential explanation that is not merely a just so story, that's going to give me reason to think that it isn't a brute fact. So the presence of the potential satisfactory explanation, meaning that
The problem is
novel
explanation,
is going to be evidence against it being a brute fact.
Yeah, but the problem is that what Proust raises is that any kind of probability is based on objective tendencies of nature, right?
I don't know what that means.
So probability is based on how things tend to behave in nature. So for you to say that this explanation increases the probability that it's not a brute fact is for you to say that the tendencies you've observed are not themselves brute.
No, I just wouldn't grant that probability is all there is to probability is tendencies observed in nature.
But you don't know that those tendencies.
Why will I grant that?
No.
I'm gonna take other things to be relevant, like things I have in the background.
But you don't know that
the simplicity, and other theoretical virtues. I'm not gonna take it merely to be observed tendencies. Why would I hold such a view?
But the things that you observed themselves have to not be brute facts.
No, but why? I mean, we can compare explanations about things without appealing to any observation. Imagine something like comparing theories about the origins of the universe. There we would be comparing theories without appealing to any observed tendencies in nature, because we're talking about things that happened before these tendencies even took place. But I still think you can compare the two theories. For example, if one is ontologically cheaper than the other, or simpler, or coheres better with whatever I have in the background, or it is from a progressive research program while the other isn't, that's gonna give me reason to prefer one over the other. And I haven't appealed to any tendencies observed in nature. I haven't appealed to any inductive generalizations to prefer one over the other.
Jack, do you think the modal ontological argument works?
Why?
Hey, Jack, did you agree with what I just said, by the way?
What?
I said, did you agree with what I just said?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so what do you think about what did you ask, Canadian?
Do you deny the modal ontological argument, Jack?
What do I think of the modal ontological argument?
No, do you deny it?
Do I deny the argument?
Yeah.
You're asking me if I deny the argument?
Yeah, do you deny it?
What does it mean to deny an argument? Deny the conclusion?
Yeah. Deny that it works.
Oh, it's circular.
Yeah.
So in some
Well,
sense it works. But it's not
but
that very
I don't
Yeah.
understand how it I don't understand how like I don't subscribe to the ontological argument for other well, I don't know actually, maybe Planting does, but not the classical one. But I think that most people don't understand it.
I think you don't understand it.
But Jack, aren't you when you're running the parity objection, aren't you assuming that no maximality and maximal the great being are on epistemic par?
On an epistemic par?
Yeah.
That maximality and what?
No maximality. No maximal greatness.
Are on an epistemic par?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
So this is how Plantinga's argument goes. There is a possible world W in which there exists a being with maximal greatness. Maximal greatness entails having maximal excellence in every possible world. Maximal excellence entails omniscience, omnipotence, and moral perfection in every possible world. So in W, there exists a being which is omniscient, omnipotent, and morally perfect in every possible world. So in W, the proposition there is no omniscient, omnipotent, and morally perfect being is impossible. But what is impossible in one possible world is impossible in every possible world. So the proposition there is no omniscient, omnipotent, morally perfect being is impossible in the actual world. So there's the actual world. So there is in the actual world an omniscient, omnipotent, and morally perfect being. Now, what you want to say is that you can reverse this argument and say there is a possible world W in which there exists no being with maximal greatness, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm asking you: is no maximality on epistemic par with maximal greatness?
What do you mean by on an epistemic par?
Do they have the same force when put in an argument?
They have the same what?
Force. Put in an argument.
Having.
Yeah.
It just asks if the evidence for both is the same, which it is.
What? Why would the evidence for both be the same?
But that's not what I'm asking, Jack. I'm asking you, both arguments don't have the same force.
Why would you say that?
Well, because this is the example that I think Phaser brings, or that Phaser doesn't agree with the ontological argument, but He just brings us that, okay, let's say there is parallel claims. There's a possible world containing unicorns. And then there is no unicornality. The property of there being no unicorns in any possible world is possibly exemplified. And then he says that clearly in this example, a possible world containing unicorns is not on epistemic par with there being a possible world where no unicornality is actualized or, sorry, exemplified. So NU is nothing more than the denial of U. So if we accept the possible world semantics, the point is that the maximum being is logically possible. Now, you saying that there is a world where it's not plausible doesn't have the same force. That's the point.
What is meant by
Maximum
force?
Huh?
What's meant by force other than evidence?
No, strength of the argument. Jack, you don't think that's correct?
What is strength of the argument other than evidence for the premises?
Oh my gosh. Jack.
Yeah.
Jack, you don't agree with this?
I wasn't really able to hear it.
Okay, so if I say that the maximally great being possibly exists, and then you say that maximally great being possibly does not exist, these are not on epistemic par.
Why would they either be or not be on an epistemic par? I don't understand.
Because that's the whole point of the parity objection, to say that when we deny the maximally great being, it's just both worldviews are similar. But I'm saying no, they're not similar.
Why not?
Because one worldview is saying that something that positively exists is possible in the world, and you're saying there's a possible world where this thing simply doesn't exist. You're not proposing any kind of positive property.
Are we talking about logical possibility?
Yeah. So there isn't anything logically contradictory with a maximally great being.
There isn't anything logically impossible about that?
Yeah.
By maximally great being, do you mean a disembodied mind?
Oh my gosh, Jack. Come on.
Because if that's what you mean, then it does seem to be logically impossible.
Oh my gosh. What do you think Bill Grammy will say when I present the modal?
By maximally great being, do you mean an infallible agent? Because if you mean that, that does seem to be logically impossible.
Oh my gosh.
By
Jack.
maximally great being, do you mean that a being sans creation that has beliefs? Because that seems to be logically impossible. By maximally great being, do you mean a divinely simple being? Because that seems to be logically impossible.
Wait, what's the logical problem with divine simplicity? I thought you said you didn't understand it.
It just seems to be a bunch of gibberish.
But what's the logical impossibility?
Wait a minute,